Welcome to Thursday Flow, where we slow down for a few moments and realign with what matters most. Today I'm sharing wisdom from Florence Scovel Shinn, another one of my favourite authors. Her work dates back to 1925 with her book The Game of Life and How to Play It, and I can strongly recommend it. Now, a lot of us have tended to move through life as passengers, watching storms gather on the horizon, watching detours appear without our consent. We look out the window at a life we did not plan, waiting. Perhaps waiting for luck to take the wheel. Perhaps waiting for that person to come into our life to steer us toward happiness. Perhaps waiting for Mr. Right, or waiting for the right time to finally arrive. But Florence taught that the wheel is already in our hands. It always has been. And you don't have to be a victim of your circumstances. You have the power to change that mode of thinking and being. And what changes all that? The simple statement of two words. I choose. Such simple and yet such profound words of authority. Now, in our journey together, we've walked through I am, where you reclaimed your identity. Then we explored I have, where you opened yourself to receiving. And today we arrive at the moment of command. Our identity and personal power come together when we step into I choose. Now, most people are choosing all day long without even realising it. They wake to the sound of an alarm and immediately choose anxiety and stress. They choose to replay yesterday's argument. They choose to anticipate stress before the day has even begun. They look at their bank account and choose to see lack instead of possibility. They scroll through someone else's highlight reels and choose comparison. And whisper, "Why me?" in the quiet corners of their mind. And most, if not all of this, is done subconsciously, without your permission. That is until you choose to take the driving wheel in your own hands. It's time to acknowledge that every action, every complaint, every repeated story is a choice. Our subconscious mind is always listening. It doesn't know whether you're just venting. It doesn't know whether you're just being realistic. It simply responds with, aha, as you wish, it will come. The problem is not that your life is not working. The problem is that it may be working perfectly according to the unconscious choices you've been making. You've been choosing old stories, choosing old fears, choosing familiar patterns, choosing the path of your past. But the moment you become aware of the autopilot begins to lose its power. Now, I first discovered all of this when I was going through the divorce, and horrible old negative mind movies were virtually running 24/7. And then I saw the light, so to speak. I recognised what I was doing and slowly began to change things. Now, you do not need the grief and heartache of external circumstances to reclaim your life. What you need is the grit from inside to make that internal decision. A moment where you pause and say, I recognise this old choice, and today I choose differently. What you consistently choose with your words, your imagination, and your belief, you eventually meet in physical form. I choose clears the victim mode. When you choose, you are taking control. You are telling your subconscious that you are the victor and not the victim. And that's the difference. One of Florence's sayings is, your word is your wand. And when you declare, I choose peace, I choose abundance, I choose divine direction. For me, that was a really big awakening. It was when I was continually tired from, the healing from cancer, exhausted even. And I found myself telling myself just how exhausted I was. I mean, I'd say, oh my gosh, I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. I feel exhausted. And I know this stuff. I teach it. I could not believe I'd fallen into the trap. So I now say, I'm choosing to rest. I'm choosing to recharge my batteries. Can't afford something you really like? Go with, I'm choosing not to buy that right now. That phrase has so much more power than I can't afford it, it's too expensive. Feel the difference in those words. Okay, so let's go a bit deeper. There are 3 levels of choosing. Level 1 is, that of the passenger. At this level, your emotions are dictated entirely by circumstances. If life is smooth, you feel peaceful. If something goes wrong, you feel defeated. You are allowing the outer world to dictate your inner world. Level 2 is intentional choosing. And this is where awareness begins to grow, begins to appear. You catch yourself spiraling into fear and you pause. And you say something like, I recognize I've chosen to worry. But right now I am choosing faith instead. This is you becoming aware of your thoughts and feelings. And then what happens? You begin to reclaim your power. So then we arrive at level 3, and this is where real transformation happens. At this level, you choose regardless of circumstances. You choose peace while the storm is still raging. You choose abundance before the evidence appears, regardless of your current circumstances, regardless of what the bank balance is saying to you. You choose hope and faith when you have no idea how it's all going to come together. Why? Because at this level, you have come to understand fully the significance of the saying, your word is your wand. Your choice determines the cause. Your choice determines the outcome. You no longer wait for the outer world to change before changing your own inner world. And here's a simple tool to help you. When you recognize this situation, pause and take a deep breath. Inhale deeply through your nose, hold it, then exhale slowly. And now speak your new choice. I choose. And what works for me is to say, I choose to believe that everything always works out for me. That what is mine will always find me. So this is your interrupt button, or as I like to call it, the flip switch. But be careful. Be careful to keep it in the positive. Don't throw that little word not in there somewhere, because the subconscious doesn't hear that. It hears what goes around it. So the second mistake is second guessing your choice. You declare abundance, then 5 minutes later, a bill comes in. And you say, oh no, not another blessed bill. You're at cross purposes there. So together, over time, we have explored I am, I have, and now today, I choose. The wheel is in your hands. So today, right now, I ask you, what will you choose? Not someday, not when conditions are perfect, not when you feel completely ready. Today. this very moment. And if this message spoke to your spirit, I invite you to make your declaration. Write the words in your diary if you would like. Share them in the comments below. After all, we are a community of like-minded souls. Remember, the wheel is in your hands. The road is still unfolding, and it's a beautiful day to drive toward a miracle. Listeners, if this resonates with you, please like and subscribe so these messages can reach and inspire others on their journey too. With heart, until next time, Margarita.